We are live.
What is going on, everybody? Frankie here for the Bakersfield Gentlemen, you guys, with my brother Miguel. Actually, to my right, your left for the first time in a long time, actually. And to my left, to your guys' right, we have a special guest, like I put in the announcements on Instagram and on Facebook. So I hope you guys are paying attention and following. And I will give you the floor and allow you to introduce yourself to people who may not know you yet.
Sweet, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you guys.
Ooh.
My name is Juan Lugo from Don Doroteo Cigars. We launched at PCA, who is our sponsor today. Just kidding.
I tell mine all the time.
Perfect. We launched at PCA, and yeah, man, just happy to share the cigars with you guys. Glad that you loved it, and I'm excited to see what you think, and hopefully you guys could get that experience as well very soon.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, like you said, you debuted at PCA.
Right.
Which is no small feat. I mean, PCA is a headache in and of itself.
Right.
You reached out. You're not too far away. I mean, all things considered, you're up in
Yeah.
Sacramento.
Yeah.
So only about a
Hours.
Vegas trip away. I think. Yeah, about a Vegas trip away.
Mm-hmm.
For us, anyways.
I think for us,
Yeah.
For Sacramento, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's
So
like 4 hours.
is it? Oh, so yeah.
Oh,
about the same,
okay.
Yeah. So you said you wanted to try your cigars, so you sent us some cigars, and I was actually blown away, guys. When I felt the weight of the box, I was like, damn, I think you sent us everything you had. But we actually got this gorgeous case right here. And inside was a 3-pack of cigars that came in a box, which I thought was pretty cool. And they have this nice yellow, the box right there, yellow, white, and gold band on it with this, what would you call it? It's not tissue paper.
It's like a sleeve, like
Yeah.
And there's so many parts of the cigar that, from a marketing and presentation standpoint,
Mhm.
that don't get used. So I just thought it was cool to kind of add a sleeve there, and it gives like a short synopsis of what we're about or story.
Mhm.
And it's just aesthetically it's cool.
It does.
Those
It
are
looks
fine.
it looks very nice. It's a very, very
Mhm.
good presentation to it when you see it with that sleeve on it.
Oh, absolutely. I've seen sleeves before, which is nice.
Mhm.
But never taken, like you said, the advantage of that. You have to touch this first. You've got to interact with that in order to smoke the cigar. So why
Right.
not take a second to actually, check it out and see the story right there?
Exactly. Yeah. And also even I've seen with some brands they use the backside of the band, which is cool too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
You know,
But I think this might take over a little bit because I've seen those before too.
yeah.
I haven't read too many of them.
Yeah.
There's been a couple, definitely, but I think I'm more likely to see because it's right where you're looking at it.
Right.
So this being your cigar, what cut would you recommend?
My favorite is for this cigar in particular. Honestly, it's just a preference. Depends on the person. But I will say preference on sizes. I love Toros.
Okay.
That's my, and I believe that's what you guys have here too.
Yep.
So, but as far as cut goes, that's subjective, man.
That's a good point. I agree with that. Now, as you said, we're all smoking the Toro size right now. What are the offerings for this guy right now, as far as sizes go?
Yeah, we have 5 vitolas. So we have the Toro. Obviously, we have the Corona, the Robusto, the Churchill, and the Belicoso.
Okay. And what can you tell everybody about the blend on this cigar?
So, the wrapper and binder are composed of one of my favorite strands of tobacco, which is the Sumatra grown in Ecuador. And I've gotten a lot of cool feedback from folks that they want to see more of that, and that's our I guess one of our signatures is what we really love. And then as far as the filler is concerned, we have Nicaraguan, we have Dominican Republic, actually the Cibao region where my family's from,
Very nice.
and then Colombian Nicaraguan.
Okay, so it comes from all over,
Yeah, so
That's-
it's 4 different strands of tobacco.
making it very complex. As I found out yesterday, hanging out pretty late here at the club, guys, and I got a chance to try one out first. And if I would have known that we were getting more in, I probably would have smoked another one. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, we gotta save them for the show. We gotta save them because we've done that before, where cigars are great, and then all of a sudden, shoot, we gotta go get more like right now, and really saved us on that because now I get to smoke another one later.
There you go, brother.
Appreciate it.
And also goes without saying the age, right? The aging of the tobacco, 14 years from seed to cigar. So that's pretty significant on itself, and that's another piece, as far as like what one of our differentiators are from a brand standpoint is we're only focusing on quality, not quantity. So you're not going to be doing any crazy releases of tobacco where you're going to find them in every Bevmo and every smoke shop. We're gonna be very, very selective with where we place our cigars, right? It has to go according to how we perceive the brand and how we perceive the cigar and the tobacco itself.
Excellent. And real quick for Archie and hey Peter, how you doing? Everybody out there. I'm sorry guys, I'm just catching up there with Mike, Eduardo. A lot of guys from the UK checking in right now. Appreciate that, guys. Can you give a rundown again? Name and company name again for everyone who's just joining, guys. Gotta give it one more time.
Yeah. So Juan Lugo here from Don Doroteo Cigars. We're from the Dominican Republic. That's where my family's from. We have a farm, so we're one of the few manufacturers that actually own our own tobacco farm. It's the same land that my father actually grew up on, and it's the same land that I used to play hide and seek as a kid.
That's crazy.
In Dominican Republic, which is it's really nuts. And then now to see that come in full circle, where I was in the farm on February during the first harvest. So all within 10 months, we managed to go from concept, like okay, we have an idea, like as far as like what we want to do from a manufacturer standpoint. The business is essentially just paying homage to my grandfather, who worked with La Aurora. He was one of the biggest farmers in the Dominican Republic for La Aurora. Yeah. He started off with them in 1936.
Wow.
But this is, I think,
and
I think it was
that's
before,
where the number comes from.
Yeah, the number on the cigar, 1936. That's
wonderful.
like that's where the legacy begins, and this is called the legacy, el legado in Spanish. So yeah, it's kind of funny because back then there wasn't really. He would have never thought like, okay, I'm gonna be all over the internet. The internet didn't even exist back then.
Right.
Yeah. And then 86 years later, here we are. So
that's a fantastic story right there.
Now the legacy is excellent too, but I'm very curious. When you were younger, did you ever think about the industry like that, or was it just a family memory? Like I grew up here. This is just my home.
It was just normal, man. So like I grew up in New York City, in Manhattan, uptown Manhattan, Wash Heights, and little cramped apartment. My grandfather Doroteo used to come over from the Dominican Republic like once a year to visit. And anytime he was coming over, my mom would just let me know, like, hey, your room is not your grandfather's room. I'm like, what? And so it used to piss me off. But, it was cool because, like, as a kid, I had a lot of fond memories. Like, obviously, in hindsight, looking back, like, you always take him to a park. And my younger brother and I, Misael and I, we used to go to the park and play. And he would always be with his cachimba and just smoking. And then I remember I would always be like, Papa, let me try that. And he's like, dude, what is it with you, man? Like every time I go out, you're always asking me to want to smoke. I'm like a little kid. So obviously he said no, thankfully. But after enough nagging, that wasn't the case. My mom didn't like that too much, but hey, I'm grateful for it now. Another instance too, he came to visit, and at this point I think it was like 10 or 11, and he forgot some of his own home rolled cigars. So he used to do these box presses. So we eventually want to do that as well.
Okay.
He used to roll his own box presses, and I remember he used to tie them in a ribbon. I remember it was like a yellow, like gold kind of ribbon, and he left them in my closet. And I think it was by accident. I want to say, but I found them after he left, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm definitely not going to tell my mom about this, but and I started experimenting. I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but yeah, man, like a lot of cool memories there with not only in the Dominican Republic walking the fields, but also in the U.S. with my pop. So.
Oh, that's
fantastic. Yeah, absolutely is.
And as you mentioned before, like there was no internet at the start of all this. How do you think he would have reacted to what you're doing right now as far as for the business goes? Because obviously marketing's been around forever,
right?
Beginning of any business.
Yeah, for sure.
But definitely not this. Not staring at you guys over there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would like to think he's not rolling in his grave. But no, on a real note though, the cool thing is, man, like, we during the first harvest we went to Dominican Republic to create content, just to record, like to show people the harvest, show people like what we're about and everything. And it has such a wholesome feeling, like when we started recording in his neighborhood where my cousin Aaron Fernandez lives. It's right next to where my grandfather had his house there. And it's in the campo, so it's like very, countryside, very, wholesome. It's all family oriented, and everyone found out that we were doing this event. So I made a whole event around it. We roasted a pig and brought all the family out. Everyone was drinking, listening to music, having a good time, sharing the cigar with everybody in the family. And I was taken back, man, like how much it meant for the family. And that for me was like probably the biggest thing. I was just like, man, like that was really cool.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Love that.
What was the farm strictly for your cigars, or there's other companies that usually you produce there? That's a question from Archie.
All right, thank you, brother. That's a good question.
That's a really good question, actually. So, as I mentioned, my grandfather, Doroteo, he only worked with La Aurora exclusively. So, that one of the first things I did when my co-founder Brandon and I decided, we're gonna take this journey on, I contacted La Aurora, and I was very surprised how welcoming and how cool they were about everything.
Mhm.
I was just inquiring, and I was telling them like, look, my grandfather worked with you guys for many years, and I'm like, who's this? Where are you from?
Yeah.
And so I told them the whole story, and then like they told me like, okay, cool, we're gonna do some vetting, and then we'll get back to you if everything checks out. So they call me back like a week later, and they're like, okay, cool, let's talk shop. And they're asking me like, what do you want to do? And I told them essentially like, I want to have my own tobacco farm. I want it to be the land that my father grew up on. So my partner and I purchased the land from the family, and we said we want to grow tobacco. We want to
Mhm.
harvest, age it, cure it rather, and we want to sell it to you exclusively. Like just have that reignite that partnership essentially
Yeah.
that my grandfather had, and that's what we did. So right now we just had our first harvest. For a couple of city slickers from New York, it wasn't too bad. Like we actually had the quality wise, it was a lot of binder in there. So we had around I want to say 800 pounds of binder, about 400 pounds of filler. And yeah, man, really excited to be able to tell you guys about some of the cool stuff we're gonna do for the next harvest.
Mhm.
But to not get away from your question, we only work with La Aurora exclusively. We're working with them because that's part of the partnership that my grandfather had, and that's what we want to do. And honestly, from a margin standpoint, the profitability is not really there. Like if you and this is just me being transparent. Like um, for farmers in third world countries, they don't really make a lot of money.
No.
Despite how big your farm may be, how much tobacco you produce, the quality of your tobacco, a lot of times, even like in Cuba, for instance, which is like the holy grail of tobacco for some people, like uh, farmers don't get paid a lot, man. So like the real margins are in the cigars,
Mhm.
So, which for us, I think that's a big piece too. And I completely, empathize and get where some business folks are coming from when they have their own cigar line and they don't necessarily want to partake in the farm because it's like aside from the profit margins, it's a world of a headache. I feel for my cousin Aaron in DR and
Uh-huh.
my pops. Shout out to you guys because they are dealing, with the folks there day in and day out, and I get calls every day like, dude. This morning I had one, so it's like, that's just part of the deal. It is,
Yeah, that's exactly the next question we got too over here. Real quick, Tyler, Alfonso, thank you guys for joining us. Richard asked, what's one of the biggest challenges of having your own farm?
one of the biggest challenges, honestly, the obvious one is I'm from New York City and now I'm a farmer. Like what?
That's nice day for you.
That's not gonna go well. Luckily, I've been fortunate in my previous endeavors. As I told you guys offline, I come from the blockchain cryptocurrency space. I've been in that for going on 6 years now,
Nice.
and my partner as well, Brendan. And I worked in tech in Silicon Valley for a while, doing marketing and all kinds of stuff. And I just learned in that environment, that tech world, where you move fast, aggressively, and you just know, like, I don't know jack, I don't know nothing. I have to learn. So you got to stand on the shoulders of giants, so to speak. You have to learn from folks that already walked, in the footsteps that you're trying to walk in, and they have that knowledge, that
Yeah.
wisdom over the years. So that's what I did. I built a team essentially of folks that are OGs in the industry. Everything from like the bands, which are made from Jeff Moss, our creative director. He worked with Alec Bradley for, I believe it was like 12, 13 years, and he helped build their brand. And a lot of the cool designs that you see coming out of that company from previous releases were from Jeff Moss, the
Very
vast majority
nice.
of them. Shout out to him. And then also in Dominican Republic, same thing with the farm. We hired an agronomist who dedicated his whole life to this. I hired some folks that don't have any fancy LinkedIn profiles or titles, but they worked in the field their whole life in the Dominican Republic. And these are like wholesome, hardworking people that really understand the crop and understand what it takes to do the maintenance day in and day
The
out.
best
Just,
people you can
just a
get.
question, not
Yeah.
to cut you off before we continue. Did you start hiring staff before you bought the farm, or was it after you bought the farm?
After.
Okay, and that leads me to another question. Now I know you bought the land out of nostalgia, but did anybody tell you, hey, this may not be the best spot to grow tobacco?
So fortunate for us, it's actually in the Jaque Valley
Mhm.
of the Dominican Republic, which is one of the most fertile
Very
in
small.
Dominican Republic. Secondly, we hired a company to come and test the soil.
Oh, okay,
Smart.
very
So
good. very good.
like even though that the nostalgia was there, I was like, okay, like I just crossed my fingers
like,
and I was
it's
like,
all rocks. Like,
yeah. They're like, yeah, you have oil down there, which is actually not a
Yeah,
problem.
It's like, well, okay, all right.
But for
The
this,
there's a pivot on the business.
yeah,
right there,
it
you know.
wouldn't be conducive for what we were trying to do.
Right,
So,
right.
but luckily there were two things that worked in our favor. Well, three things. One, we were already in the region, so we knew, like, we had an idea, like, okay, this region is known for being really good and really fertile.
Yeah.
So the cool thing is, if we were, hypothetically speaking, to be able to pull it off and have a farm, there's also folks around there. The general region, the population, they worked or currently work in tobacco. So you know what I mean? Like, finding employment would have been good, and it actually turned out that way. That was one thing. A second thing was, we had folks come out and they tested the soil, and they told us, like, this is good soil, it's fertile, and sure enough, the harvest itself speaks volumes of that. And then thirdly was the water source.
Oh yeah.
So there was like always like one challenge after another, but Brandon and I kind of thrive on that. Like, we like that, like the chasing that carrot and like going out solving all these problems, and like that was probably one of the biggest like nerve-wracking headaches we had was the water situation, because if you don't have a natural source of water, then you got to come out of pocket and find and get it from somewhere else.
Right.
And we had a dude that was like digging in, holes. He had brought a whole team out. He went to all parts of the property, and for weeks and weeks and weeks couldn't find any water, man. And then we hired some some experts that brought in some scientific gear, and they were checking, and they were like, still couldn't find anything. And then he said, like, all right, I'll try one more time. I'll try at the edge of the land towards that direction. I think we could find something. Sure enough, we found water.
And that's actually a question you just got up right here, from Archie. Can weather in the DR play a big role for growing good tobacco? Too much rain, too cold, not enough rain, too hot? What kind of complications does the weather in that region give you guys?
Absolutely, man. The natural elements is huge. I mean, anywhere you decide you want to grow anything, you got to take that into account.
100%.
With the tropical weather, it's a different ball game, man. It's wild out there.
Yeah.
Like, when it rains, it pours. There was a flash flood recently in the general region. It was all over IG, and I saw it on Facebook too. But it's like, there's a lot of things you have to take into account. Too much sunlight, not enough sunlight. Too much rain, not enough rain. The humidity. Even simpler things than that, like, when you start talking about more fine tobacco, like, let's say if I want to grow, like, I have an ambitious goal. Brandon and I want to grow strictly wrapper. It's something that's not seen a lot in the Dominican Republic. It's very difficult to do. Very few are doing it, and we're like, we're gonna do it. And it's not, and we're prepared to throw a couple harvests in the tank and say, like, okay, this one failed, on to the next one,
Make
but it's
some
that
Mixville cigar with that.
it's just chasing that carrot, like I said, right? We want to solve that issue. We want to be able to grow some really good wrapper there in the Dominican Republic. So now you gotta take things into account, like, how are your hoses positioned on the land? Because not only is it that a factor for the way you're watering the plants, but also once you have this beautiful crop, let's say we do everything right, and like we have this beautiful crop, everything's wrapper.
Mhm.
Like, we have amazing Nicaraguan wrapper, and we grew it in the Dominican Republic, which is crazy to do. And so now little things like the way, if your field employees are not properly trained and they don't know that, like, hey, they're wearing some, I don't know, some clothing that was worn when they were painting a house or something, or they have some kind of chemical, or even cologne or anything, and they graze on a plant, or if they walk by some plants and they're not extra careful, any little thing will damage the plant.
Right.
So there's so many factors you got to take into account. That's actually really going on the elements.
100%.
And yeah, that actually leads me into this next question. You said you wanted to grow all wrapper. This kind of goes with Masil's question. Is there anything different you're implementing now to prep for the next harvest, which I'm assuming is what you guys are aiming for? So is there anything different you guys are doing to try to aim for that all wrapper harvest? Or
yeah, so we got pretty lucky at PCA. one of the cool things about being there, other than sharing our cigar with everybody, was the fact that we got to meet all the different folks in the industry.
Mhm.
And we met up with an OG from Nicaragua, and I can't say who it is yet, but he's was pretty instrumental in helping a lot of the current big names that we see in the industry, and he doesn't get a lot of a lot of promotion there because he's kind of a quiet dude. He's very humble and everything, and he just kind of stays in his own lane. But I spoke to him, I shared the cigar, he loved it, and then he was like, "I'm gonna hook you up, I'm gonna help you out, I'm gonna help you do this."
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm actually pretty excited to do that. But there's a lot of factors that you have to take into account. So going back to what we were saying about the natural elements, like the rain, the sun, and all that. So as you guys are familiar, you've probably seen the images too. Some farms, they have like a shaded film they put over the crops.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of things like that we're gonna have to do. Also with the water irrigation, making sure, going back to like natural elements, when it rains too hard, we're on a slope, so we got to make sure that we're like having a proper water irrigation so that the plants don't get washed away.
Yeah.
Like there's so many different things, but it's fun, man. And honestly, like the whole ride has been pretty awesome. And the team is great too. Aaron Fernandez, my cousin out there, and my dad, those guys are killing it. So.
And
That's
then
really. Oh, sorry. You want to go?
Archie's got another good question here. It says,
keep going.
are there any bugs that will destroy the crops? Not only bugs, but Archie, for some people who may not know this, when you're curing the tobacco and you put it in the pilones, that naturally causes heat to form. And if they're not constantly checking the temperature of this thing, it can spontaneously combust.
Yep.
It's happened before and caused fires, and people have lost thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of product because of these fires. So, you're stacking tobacco leaf on tobacco leaf in these huge piles.
Chemical reaction.
And it's just a chemical reaction, and that temperature will rise real fast. So they're out there constantly, checking it to make sure the temperature is just right. Time to flip, time to do this, time to take the inner leaves, put them on the outer, put the outer in the inner.
It's a whole dance.
Yeah.
It's like musical chairs with tobacco.
Exactly. But yeah, as far as natural, obviously natural bugs, unnatural bugs. As far as bugs go out in the DR, and I'm not talking like tobacco beetles once they're here in the States,
Yeah.
But like, what kind of stuff do you guys deal out? There's like weird caterpillars that eat the tobacco, or what is there out there?
Yeah, there are a number of different pests that we have to account for. Another tricky thing when it comes to this topic is the working conditions of the folks. So a lot of times you'll see companies will say, "Hey, make sure you're fumigating for whatever XYZ," right? But having the right PPE and everything, like wearing the right clothes and all that. So like we hired some folks to initially, 11 months ago, we hired some folks to kind of take on all these tasks. And then, I was watching, because I'm here in the States. So my cousin Aaron would relay, we just had a really good communication. We relay drone footage because he loves flying the drone. He would do Facebook Live or not Facebook Live, FaceTime or WhatsApp or whatever the case. And he was showing me like, look, this is what's going on. This is what's going on. And I'm like, hey, where's the PPE on this guy or this and that? And that wasn't protocol. Like that's not what there's not as much regulation out there.
Right.
So we try to be careful too, not only on what we're putting on the plants, but also how the employees are doing it and like what they're wearing and everything to the T. Because even though you have to make sure you're accounting for all these pests, like you also want to make sure that you're taking care of your people too.
Yeah.
100%.
But also
100%.
inside the barn too. So once you grow this beautiful tobacco, you harvest it, and then you take them in the curing barn. Yeah, that's a whole other ballgame too. There's a lot of quality control there as well. As you were saying, you have to make sure you're flipping the tobacco and all that. But also, like even when you're drying out the tobacco, so we played around with a couple different things. We did since we have the curing barn built exactly how the one Davidoff has. Shout out to them. Like they're a huge inspiration to us. But we also worked with some of the natural way of doing things, the traditional way of doing things, where you have the coals. So you've probably seen those too. Yep. And what we would do in that instance, we luckily have an employee that lives like right next to the farm. He would be in charge, and we'll pay him for overnight work and everything. And he would just be there, like making sure he's keeping an eye on everything, so it just doesn't go up in flames.
Right, yeah.
And then once you're able to do all that and you're able to cure it properly and everything, then you have to do, exactly what you were describing there. So you have to do the whole dance, making sure the humidity of the plants is equally distributed and it's not all concentrated into one piece. Because not only can it go up in flames, like you said, but it could also destroy your crop in general.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think people realize how much. Go thank a farmer one of these days, not just for tobacco or for it's like because wine has a lot of the same issues, especially here in California. But think about the weather we have in California. It's so nice, pretty much everywhere year round. Even though it's hot here right now, it's still really good weather. I mean, we don't have to worry about too much rain. But there were years where the orange crops were taking a real big hit just because the weather dipped down during the winter. It got cold by California standards. That's not very cold, guys.
Yeah, got right into the 60s, man. That sucks.
But just imagine going into places where it is great for tobacco. It is because you need humidity, you need the heat.
Right.
But anything of anything or too much of anything can all of a sudden ruin everything that's going down.
Oh yeah.
So it's got to be a whole different beast.
It is, man. It's 24/7. So a funny thing I say with that is like, some folks will be like, man, you're working on a Saturday or you're working on a Sunday, because I'll be like, and for me it's mainly just kind of pulling levers and like speaking to folks who are actually on the boots on the ground taking care of things. But I'll be talking to them on a Sunday, on a Saturday. I'm like, dude, we need to make sure this harvest like pulls through. Like this tobacco doesn't go up in flames, like you're saying. Like we got to make sure we're taking care of the crop. You can't just abandon it and be like, hey, see you Monday. See you Monday at 9.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine for the weekend.
Exactly. Oh, it's a holiday. See you on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Yeah. So, before I get into the flavors of this, you guys, Ash is holding on very well. I am going to tap it though because I don't want to drop it on myself. It's a solid white ash, solid burn line. Draw is fantastic. Smoke output is great. The overall construction so far is fantastic, you guys. That ash, it would have held on longer, but again, I don't want to ash myself like I have done many, many, many times before.
Yeah, it's crazy how much more you ash yourself on the show than anywhere else. Like people are watching this, and then you just. I digress, but that's actually the only reason. Huh? That's the only reason I tap mine is because I'm a little further away from the ashtray. Like, no, I'll make sure I don't hit the table. It was holding on just fine. The construction is phenomenal.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Like this is a cool one. I met these guys at PCA. This is Cigar. So I like it for that. Actually, was one of the reasons why I like it. Just kind of evenly keeps the cigar going there, and for the obviously when you're smoking. But I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna follow you here.
Now, I think
actually Archie's got a question. I want to coattail that with Mark's comment from earlier.
Yeah.
Talking about a boutique brand, and do you have a spot that you sell in New York City?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, cool.
So we're currently putting the list together. So let me break down a little bit like behind the scenes of what happens, or at least in our case, what happened. So we launched at PCA. I go in there thinking like, okay, this is a traditional industry with the new cats, and nobody knows who we are. And first year we're like, we have a 14-year-old cigar, and they were like, what the hell you think you are? So we had a pretty awesome booth and everything. Like setup was sweet. Like we had a solid team, presentation, marketing, everything was on point. So we actually got a lot more attention than we anticipated, which is a good problem to have,
right?
But then on the back end, like after the show, once the dust settles and everything, we're like, okay, we got to be careful here because we're not mass producing a 6-month-old, aged cigar. Like we're actually selling a cigar that's 14 years old, and that means it's limited. So we want to make sure that we're giving it to the right folks. So we're currently putting together a list of all the folks we want to work with. Some of them we met at PCA, some we didn't. So we're putting that together currently, and as soon as we're ready to go, we'll put that on our website, and it'll be available. All the retailers or all the folks that we actually are going to be working with, we'll have it ready for everybody to see.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of goes into what Archie was saying here. Why aren't there more cigar lounges in Manhattan? And do you have a favorite lounge in New York that you like to go to?
So, from what I'm finding, it seems like legislation is kind of pushing against cigar smoking. Not only, I mean, obviously in the whole U.S., but in New York City in particular, man. If you look at the tax bracket, as far as like what these retailers have to pay, it's crazy, man. Shout out to Felix at Harlem Cigar Room. It's right up my neck of the woods where I grew up. So shout out to him. I met him at PCA. Pretty awesome dude there too. But yeah, man, the tax bracket is pretty crazy. So we're finding that we have to kind of maneuver that and work with folks, help them out a little bit so that they're able to obviously carry a cigar, but be able to partake in that on their end and be able to share that with the folks that come in if they request or they ask for it.
100%. And that's awesome though too. That's how we get to know some good lounges too. Recommendations like that right there. Let us know if we can help them promote any events or whatever. There are people watching in New York right now, which makes me happy to see. And we got to keep local brick and mortars going. It's one of the most important things. We talk about all. You guys already know what we're talking about here. It's how we try the new cigars. It's how we get a hold of them. The shows are great, but that in-person interaction, one-on-one, just can't be beat.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like we're like in a hybrid world now. Like everything's digital, right? But at the same time, it's kind of like we're saying that human connection. Nothing beats like being in person. So kind of like when we were talking about doing this podcast, and you were like, oh, we could do it over Zoom, and I'm like, man, I'd rather jump in the car.
Like, oh, I was just gonna go. I was like, oh shit, okay.
It seems like this just much better.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
100%. Same thing with brick and mortars too, right?
Oh yeah, it's crazy how different an experience it is when you talk to people online, and all of a sudden you meet them in person. Yeah. And you get to learn so much more, it feels like. And from every lounge you've been to, there's always someone new to meet. It's a unique cast of characters, and it seems like everyone has that friendly aspect to them. Where we all
except for that dude in Arizona.
Yeah, okay, well that was one situation. Made fun of us because we're from California.
Dude had his toes painted pink. You can't make fun of me if you have pink toes, bro.
Yeah, that was different. But then I digress, all right? Because I think he was just being funny.
Nah, he
was just being funny. But the point is, everyone's there to smoke cigars and enjoy the time. Right. So everyone's, being civil. Everyone's being, I think it's a better setting than say like a bar or like a nightclub or something for social interaction.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. 100%. Another cool part about that is the fact that it's all walks of life, man. So like you walk in a cigar lounge, you could be sitting next to a CEO of a tech company. You could be sitting next to, just an average guy who just enjoys cigars. Yep. And then the worlds like just connect, they cross paths and you have an opportunity to talk shop, and maybe you never know. Like I've seen opportunities come from just being at the right place at the right time. I've met a lot of folks that have helped me along the way. When we were working on the blend and we were trying out different things, I would take a little pen and notepad, and I would take gang of tobacco strands or cigars, take them to local shops, Casilla Cigars in downtown Sac and other places, and I would meet different people that happen to be from the same industry or other industries that I would have never met otherwise. So I 100% am there with you on that.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, actually, I want to bug you about. Have you been checking out the LFD NFTs that have been going down lately?
Yeah.
What's your take on that though? Since you are well versed in that versus what we talk about on this show.
Yeah, I got super excited when I saw that. So that is really cool, and shout out to them, man. That was really innovative of them to not only be the first in the industry, I believe, to do it, but also that takes time to do, man. Like, so they have been working on this for a while, and I've heard of some other ones coming up in the pipe too from different folks. So I'll be excited to see what they do there. Shout out to I'm gonna say
I'm gonna retro right now.
but yeah, man, I think it's cool, man. Absolutely. In the particular way that LFD did it was really cool too, because they gave out, I believe it was only 7, if I'm not mistaken, NFTs, and it's kind of like they're making it decentralized, which is a buzzword they use in crypto and cryptocurrencies, and also in NFTs, which essentially means like it's for everybody. Anyone and anybody could partake. So it allows for retailers to purchase an NFT, and now that retailer has exclusive rights to sell that cigar. So if anyone's looking for it, they have to go to him or her to get that cigar. So that's pretty cool. But it also gives opportunity for, let's say, like there's a diehard like LFD fan, and he's like, I'm gonna hoard all these cigars.
Buy that NFT all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Well, they're his then.
Yeah, but the cool thing is the actual NFTs in themselves are a speculative asset, and meaning that you could buy it for whatever dollar amount of a cryptocurrency, Ethereum, Bitcoin, whatever, and then you can hold it for some time. Let's say you're just a consumer, and let's say the LFD NFT cigar, like, there's some crazy demand for it, and now that consumer who's holding the NFT and has a bunch of those cigars, and it's like, okay, cool, I'm ready to sell this NFT now. He or she can go up to some retailers, or they may be knocking on their door and saying like, hey, I want to buy that NFT off of you, and now you're making some profits off the NFT itself. So I think that's pretty cool.
Not bad at all. Yeah, I mean, it's a new world that we're living in with some really exciting stuff going down, and it's nice to see traditions that we've held on to for so long meet with innovation that's coming in right now.
Yeah.
I mean, whether you're talking about the NFTs or if someone's like, I think the Great Smoke probably did it best for the first really big virtual event. They did 8 hours for the day. They had different comedians. They had music. Because not everyone could make it at that time. It was during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
It was a way to reach everybody still, and to still have the community feel like it was all a part of it. You know, we can do things that we couldn't do before, and it allows everyone to be inclusive. Like right now, I'm sorry, I'm going back to some of the comments here. Richard, you always ask the same how much tequila can you chug? I'm gonna go past that one right now.
Actually, I'm gonna touch on that one. As far as the flavors go, you guys, right now, what I'm picking up, very floral, very woody, light spice, and just a hint of vanilla on the back end there. As far as the finish goes, it's a very light finish, so it's not gonna clutter your palate in between draws. Strength, medium. Definitely not going to be a full-bodied cigar, so you can definitely start your day off with this with some coffee. But that being said, I think that's what I would probably do, coffee. And I know Richard wants to know about tequila, but what would be your pairing recommendation with this?
My palate's different though. Like for me, I'm like right now I'm drinking a soda here, but my preference would be like straight black coffee with a cigar.
100%.
And I've seen some funny ones, like some cool ones too. Like there's some cigars that have like they just like if you pair them with the right drink, it just brings out whatever it is. Like it just so they like doesn't enhance it per se, but you could really pick up on some of the different notes. And also depending on the mood and setting, man. Like sometimes I'll smoke and I'll drink with fine whiskey or something like that, or a little Macallan, or a blue label. Those are usually my go-tos. Obviously, like I said, black coffee. In other instances, I've seen like chocolate milk, which I don't regularly drink, but I've heard people tell me like try this and smoke it with a chocolate milk, and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
and then I'll try it, and I'm like, oh shit, like I see it.
That was one I always forget to do it, but our buddy Chris, who works for Protocol, he knows that Oliva Series V has been one of my favorite cigars forever. So, dude, smoking with a chocolate milkshake.
Exactly. There you go.
That sounds so weird, but okay, eventually one day I will try it.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of coffee with a lighter cigar like this. Matter of fact, last time we were in Vegas, I think, went to Monte Cristo, and you can order the French press, which I did. And instead of sugar packets like they used to have, they have like these sugar rock stirs.
Okay.
I was like, oh dang, that blew my mind. So as soon as I got back, I went to Amazon, ordered me some of those.
There you go.
But definitely, yeah, some black coffee. I like to add a little sugar to mine. That's just me. He'll drink it straight. But yeah, that'd definitely be a good call.
Yeah, brother.
All right, before we go into any more of this real quick, guys, I got to put this out there because the video will be ready for Wednesday's show. But Cigar Heritage Festival,
yes,
in Florida this December, the first
December
weekend
4th.
of December. It is going to be December 4th. The pre-dinner party is going to be on the 3rd. If you guys want to get down there, tickets are available now. The website is in the description. Go check it out. You'll see some cool pictures. We're gonna have more for you very soon, guys. It is going to be an incredible time. I'm very excited about that.
You guys kept asking us to come to the west or to the East Coast, so
you better be there.
We're going, so you guys better show up and not make us look bad.
I want to see you fly in. I want to see everybody there. I want to make a T-shirt for this one beforehand. Like we'll have at least like 2 months out. Where it'll be like our first Cigar Heritage Festival shirt. So like it'll be a Baco Gent shirt, but with some more heritage theme to it. And I'm just very excited about that. I want to make sure I shout them out. Ivan, thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of this. JJ over at Lord Puffers, thank you for getting us to be a part of this as well. I got to give him a call. I got to call him earlier, but I want to make sure shout that out real quick, guys, because it's going to be exciting. It's very close, actually. I didn't realize how close it was, and I'm ready to get out of California for a bit and to go to a giant cigar event with so many great people. I think that's a good reason. It's a pretty good reason. All right, guys. So yeah, check that out in the description. I really appreciate that.
Masil asked, what's next for you? And obviously, you've already stated that you guys want to try to go wrapper leaves. But is there maybe another blend down the road? The box press, like you said, your grandfather used to make, maybe something along the lines of that. But what's next for you guys? Maybe in the next 2 to 3 years.
So we're currently working on 2 blends at the moment, and they're one for sure will be released at the next PCA. This year, I'm just going to strictly focus on El Legado. As you can see, it's a
Very enjoyable.
it's yeah, and it well deserves that right. So, but for the next blend, I'm pretty excited. We're doing another batch with well aged cigar tobacco rather. Thanks to Manoli Noah, the master blender at Aurora.
Mhm.
That dude, man, he really like honed in with Brandon and I, and he's been such a great mentor and
That's
just
awesome.
such a great resource. I mean, he's an OG in the industry. Aurora's is the oldest manufacturer in Dominican Republic.
Phenomenal work.
So yeah, I see you guys got him placards and stuff out here
Mhm.
too. So you guys are fans, but yeah, man, those guys are amazing, man. Like the team they put together, they have over there, and they're helping, like all the resources they're giving us. So we're working on a blend right now, and the only thing I can say is it's going to be well aged cigars. We're gonna stick to our MO, and that's what we're about. You're never gonna see us doing like I said earlier, mass producing, low quality cigars. Um, for me, this is more than just a vice. You know what I mean? Like anything I'm gonna put my grandfather's name on is something that I think he would smoke himself. So
100%. I love that. And as you can taste the age to this, how well it's all melded together. The
Yeah.
flavors is just
composition, all that.
exactly. It's worth the time and effort. You can tell by the quality that's here in my hand right now.
Right.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Thanks, man.
And we do have a couple of NFT questions here. Will Bitcoin ever go back up to 4,000 or 5,000? And what's your most prized NFT?
What do you mean go back down to 4 or 5?
We'll go
it's
back
like,
down.
Yeah,
I
it's
was
Go
gonna
like-
back down. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it's like
Did it
at
tank in the last 2 hours?
It's
My
like
bad.
22, I thought, or something like
really?
that. Yeah, it's like
Oh, shit, we
22,000.
should
Yeah,
get
it's
some of
hovering.
that.
It's hovering in the 20s, I believe.
Yeah.
I got a ticker on my phone. As soon as that thing starts to drop, I'm like, sell everything.
I was like, it's not 5,000.
So will
I
it
got
go
scared
back
for a second. I
down
don't
to
have that
4,000
much
or
in it.
5,000? And what is your most prized NFT?
I would say that honestly, like I don't think anyone has a crystal ball as to what's going to happen with the price. What I like to say is, Bitcoin aside, just think of any investment opportunity. This is obviously my opinion here, but I think that you have to look at things at a long time horizon. So let's say you're buying a house, for instance. Like if you're looking to do that quick flip within a year, kudos to you, but you better know what you're doing. And you're more than likely are going to be better off if you buy something and you have plans on holding it for a long time. If you're not able to do that, because either the risk associated, you can't sleep at night with it, or whatever the case is, I understand that. But at the end of the day, like that's how I'm looking at Bitcoin. I've been in the industry for going on 6 years now, and I've seen so many times in the news like, oh, this is it, Bitcoin's going to zero. And if you zoom out and you look at what it's done since 2009, it's going up and to the right. It just keeps going up. There's ebbs and flows, so that you're going to see the peaks, you're going to see the valleys,
Right.
and a lot of that's going to be also correlated with what's happening in the market, man. Like
100%.
now we're seeing, and when I say now, I mean since 2018, since the last valley, the last drop in 2018, which was the biggest one prior to the current one here. Since then, we've seen a lot of institutional investors come in, meaning like bankers and just corporations are making a part of the balance sheet. They're having Bitcoin on there. Elon Musk with Tesla and all the there's so many more that are on the DL with, like they don't talk about it publicly because of the it's still sort of taboo for some folks to talk about. But I like to think of it in the long term. So like, are we going to see dips? Is the war in Ukraine, is the inflation, is what's happening in China with Evergrande and all these huge corporations, right? Yeah, like, all that's is going to be correlated to the market here. It's not only going to affect Bitcoin; it's going to affect our general market. Like I said, look what's happening with inflation, what's happening with the housing market, everything else. Like it's going to affect everything. So you kind of just have to do your research and just be sure about what you are going in on. And then once you have that conviction and then just hold on for dear life.
Oh, heck yeah.
And as far as my favorite NFT, I don't have a favorite NFT per se. As far as NFTs are concerned, I'm not like I haven't been in the NFT world per se for a very long time. I've been researching them for a little bit over a year. Cryptocurrencies in general, yes, for going on 6 years. But and as far as that's concerned, like there are so many different like there's so many different coins out there. But honestly, like the one that is king, and I think will always be king is Bitcoin. I think that's the one that if you want to have a sure bet, like that's something I'm gonna be leaving for my kids.
Nice.
I'm not gonna be leaving them like some crazy thing, like
Yeah.
you just don't know, man. Like I've seen so many of these projects, they come and they're hot and they have these crazy roadmaps. You think like, oh man, they're gonna kill it. They're gonna be the next Facebook. And then sure enough, like within 2-3 years, there's so much more factors. Just like the farm I was describing earlier, there's so many factors, so many things that could go wrong that you have to be able to execute properly on. And if you can't, I mean, you look at startups in the Valley. How many of those VCs out there in Silicon Valley get pitched, startups, investment opportunities all the time, and like most of them fail.
It's true.
9 out of 10, if not 10 out of 10, a lot of them fail, and it's because it's hard, man. It's hard to not only execute but then have longevity.
100%. I mean, yeah. Look at the rate of businesses that open and close in the U.S. I think it's like the first 2 years is the most difficult for everyone.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's all those different factors that you can't see everything coming your way. But the best you can do is push forward as hard as you can. Just keep going with
and be
it.
able to pivot. You
100%.
gotta be able to pivot. I mean, look at what's like, not to get too off topic here, but look at what's happening from a technological standpoint, like with Facebook, for instance, right? Like, oh, we're now Meta. Like, what do you think that's they're pivoting into the future, into what's coming? So like, you're gonna see a lot more of that in that industry. A lot of corporations rather are gonna be pivoting into that space, going that direction.
100%. It's exciting. It's exciting to see it. I'm just hoping I can keep up with it all.
That's the hard part, man. It's just it's constantly changing.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, man. Honestly, like coming from that world, this for me is so awesome, man. Like being able to, there's nothing that's no feeling with the stock market. It's gonna be as good or be walking through your own field of tobacco, and then like, or honestly any crop, but just this in general for me, because this is nostalgic and it's heritage and everything like that. For me, man, that's so cool.
Yeah, and as you said before, like going into something that you might not know everything about and standing on the shoulders of giants, it's a good industry for that, because there's so much generational knowledge throughout the cigar industry, and it seems a very welcoming community. Once you show like, hey, I'm here to put in the work. Right. They're like, okay, then we're gonna show you what you need, and we're gonna help you as we can.
You can't waste people's time. You gotta and I am so grateful for any wisdom, any knowledge that gets passed down to me from some of the OGs that I've met along the way. Even my co-founder Brandon, he's a serial entrepreneur. This guy has done so many different things on the tech sector, also in agriculture, all over the map. So he's a constant wealth of knowledge for me. And also Jeff Moss, the creative director, who worked with Alec Bradley for so many years. Like, that dude is amazing. So I am 100% with you on that. Like, you have to find the right people, and then just help them out to reciprocate.
100%.
And then we did get a question a little earlier. Now I know you said you're putting together you guys' list of where you guys are going to be selling your cigars as far as retailers go. Is there anywhere now that people can find your cigars? Can they go directly to your website? Is there maybe an online store that has them? Where could they find them?
So we've been asked a lot, like, and we contemplated, like, are we going to put them on our own website or not? But we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot, so to speak. Like, kind of going back to what you were saying earlier about keeping the brick and mortars alive. We could, technically speaking, like, we could sell them on our website, and we've built good enough relationships where we can go and say, hey, if you want to get cigars from us, you get them directly on the back end, or you could get them from the website. But I think going and touching on what I was saying about the investment side of things, if you want to do something long term and you have a long term mindset and a long term horizon, like we do, then I think it's right to kind of pace yourself and do things right.
Smart.
Because you don't, like, every little factor in this business could have long term consequences. So not like I said, so it's a limited quantity. We want to make sure we're with the right people. So right now, no, they're not. You're not gonna find them in the shops. And honestly, it's playing to our advantage because people keep asking us for them, and it's just creating that FOMO. Fear of missing out. People want to try it. And we promise that when we do put that list out, it's gonna be the right folks. Nice. These are relationships, man. Business is all relationships. You gotta build the right relationships, work with the right people, and then you will see it. You'll have longevity in the industry.
And we talked about it a little bit before the show. For going to shops and events, are you ready for that onset of like it's to roll out. It's time to go meet the people face to face. Are you ready for those long days?
Honestly, yeah, man. I
Yeah.
mean, this is like living the dream for me, man. Like, coming from the tech side of things and everything we've seen there, good and bad. I don't know, man. This is awesome for me. Like today, get to drive. Like, oh, some people are like, you're gonna drive 4.5, 5 hours to go do a podcast. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go talk to some cool dudes and smoke cigars. Like,
It's a rough life. It's
like
difficult. I get
that's
it,
work.
yeah.
Like, this is awesome, man. I love it. So, yeah, dude, whatever it brings, man, we're ready to go.
Nice. And real quick, I know you guys probably have already done this as far as price setting, but Archie's just wondering if there's a range that he can expect.
Yeah.
But that also depends on state.
If
I'm
it's in
assuming,
California, add like $10.
No, well, oh yeah,
They're definitely California and some other states like New York City. We were saying earlier.
Mm.
Yeah, there's some. I think New York City actually more so than California. But
Oh yeah.
there's some states we're going to have to work with some of the retailers there to help them out. But as far as like MSRP on it, yeah, it's a higher. I mean, you guys could tell me yourselves what you could think, but as far as the price goes, it's up there. And I know it's pretty bold of us to do that, but we're not like I said, we're not mass producing cigars. We're creating like experiences. We're creating fine cigars, and we are limiting the quantity that we're going to share with folks. So we have the smallest, the Vitola is the Corona. MSRP on that is like $19.50, and it could go upwards of $22.75 or $22.95.
Depending on the area and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you're looking to give people that luxury experience that cigars are supposed to be. It's not. It's like you said. It's not a vice.
Yeah.
I never need to smoke a cigar. It's a want. It's that moment of relaxation.
But you always want one, though.
Yeah, that is true as well.
Yeah, but for me, man, like if I'm gonna smoke a cigar, man, I want to smoke something good. And I always want something that it's like hard to find. You always want that like, that Easter egg, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's at least how I view it, and yeah, man, that's how we're rolling with it.
We were just talking about the other day on the show. We went to a 3-in-1 sports bar and grill down in Chula Vista, by the border of Mexico.
Oh man!
And we walked into this guy's humidor. I mean, he had so many different unicorns in there that we were like, "Holy shit! I don't even know where to start."
Right.
And that's just what's the thing, he likes to get those hard to find cigars. So, Rick does a fantastic job down there.
That place is stocked.
They're hard to find and they're pricey, but man, it's worth it if you are able to appreciate the cigar for what it is. Now, obviously, like if you just started smoking and you're just blowing smoke, you're just like, what's the difference between this and that?
Well, okay, it's okay. Start with something else. Then.
I definitely would not recommend this for a first-time smoker, especially if you bought it and you're giving it to them, because they're gonna do that was great. I'm gonna put it down. You're gonna get pissed.
I will say this though, it's not harsh. It's not too strong. So if it's someone you think will actually appreciate it, they might be able to, after a good meal, they might be able to enjoy it. And it's a good way to start someone into a new, hopefully, hobby of theirs and show them the finer side of cigars. Show them something that isn't going to set them away from it. I think this cigar would be easily, maybe not for a very beginner, but somebody who is going to start appreciating cigars.
And not only that,
it won't turn them away.
They did studies for people. They'll buy cigars that are within a certain range, and that's where they stick to. They usually don't go down. They'll go up every once in a while, but $10 to $12, that's my range. $13 to $15, that's my range. They might go up every once in a while if they hear something good about a cigar, but they rarely ever go down. This would definitely be one of those that if people are in similar ranges, they should be able to go up and give it a try and see maybe they're going to expand that range to include stuff like this, because I'm enjoying the hell of it right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you can definitely taste the age to it, like you were saying. All the tobaccos they're working together right now.
Perfect.
And that's because of that age. If this was, like you said, a 6-month cigar, you might need to leave it in the humidor a little while longer just for it to happen that way. So it's fantastic, guys.
You touched on a good point there. So like that's another factor too. Like when you buy a cigar, for me, I want to smoke it. I don't have the patience to sit there and just stare at the humidor like, come on, age already. Like, so all of our stuff is ready to roll. Like the minute you purchase or given the cigar, you can smoke it right there and then. And you're gonna get the full experience. You're not gonna have to age it, or that's another thing too. With some brands or some blends in particular, you'll see like you'll try a cigar, you'll buy a box or whatever, and then you try one, you're like, oh, that's not bad. Let me age it a little longer. You age it, you come back 6 months, a year later, and it's like, whoa, that's good.
I appreciate that too, but like you said, I kind of want to smoke it now.
Yeah. We did that with the Jacob's Ladder Brimstone, the Presidentes, and that was one of the strongest cigars I've ever had when we originally had it. But we aged them for a year, and by that time the strength was almost all gone. We're like, oh, I think we aged them too long.
Flavor was still good though.
No, flavor was fantastic, but the strength was gone. It was a little disappointing. So I think we messed up on that one. So, Mr. Holt, I apologize.
Absolutely, though, Richard. Yeah, if we can get a hold of some of these before, we'll definitely before Texas Nightmare. We'll bring some to Texas. An event we go out there every year. It's supposed to be a horror convention, but we put on a little cigar event to go alongside of it.
That's cool.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. That's another thing about the industry is when you find those people who you connect with and they have different interests. Excuse me. It expands yours because then you get to see a whole new side. I've never golfed before I started smoking cigars. Never even thought about it. Now I'm out there and I don't golf well. Let's put it that way. All right. Yeah. If you need someone to embarrass themselves out there, I'm your man. I can do that, no problem. But there's just so much more to it. The common denominator for all of us is the cigars. But then you get to build upon those relationships and see so many different aspects of life you just wouldn't know without that first start.
Right.
Just lighten up.
Yeah, you build on that common interest. Right? Same with like you were saying, that you walk in a brick and mortar, a lounge, and you could be sitting next to, whoever. You could be the CEO of a company. It could be, people from completely different walks of life, and you have that common denominator. And it's like that's enough to kind of just break the ice. And everyone, when you walk in a cigar lounge, like you're not going in there, hopefully you're not going in there like stressed out, like when you go to the bar and you're like, I'm just gonna hit me in the bar. Yeah, it's like you go there to relax, and like your guards are gonna be down. You're there to enjoy the moment and share that experience with other people.
100%. 100%. All right, we're coming close to that end, guys. No, Rich, you're not gonna hit up a Pokemon convention. See how many cigars? No, that's not gonna work. I don't think it's the same demographic. Although I could be completely wrong.
You could be.
Lost my train of thought. I can't keep reading Richard's comments. He always throws me off.
I got a question.
Please.
So, we know you're into the crypto. We know you're into making fine cigars. What other hobbies or interests do you have? You a sneakerhead, comic books? You into action movies? I mean, what other interests do you have?
Well, I am a sneakerhead too. I'm from New York City, so I grew up, Washington Heights, so yeah, man, that's definitely a big part. My wife just looks at my sneaker collection and goes like, "Why? You have one set of feet. Why do you have so many pairs of shoes?" But I don't know, man. It was just cool, like like when I was little, like I used to get like the Jordans or whatever. Back then, it was like easy to get them too. Like there wasn't like you'd never heard about like what they do now. We have to do like raffles online and bots that buy you out, and then you have to buy from resellers and stuff.
Well, I heard one shop they didn't want resellers, so if you bought the shoe from them, they made you wear them out of the store
to guarantee.
Yeah.
And then you see the dudes walking out like this, like no creases. Yeah. So actually, and the pair I'm wearing right now, I'm just wearing some Air Forces, but I got the sole inserts that keep the creases from like.
Okay.
Smart.
So I'm definitely a sneakerhead. What else? I like archery. I just got into archery like maybe 7 months ago. Just in my backyard. I got a pretty decent backyard to just be shooting out there. I was in the Air Force, like I told you guys, and I was marksman in the military. I used to shoot. I was a heavy gunner, so I would shoot M240 Bravo. So that's like the badass. You see, 27 pounds. And shot the M4. Obviously the 9mm, all different kinds of stuff. 249. But I want to get into hunting, and for me, I just feel like I don't know. Like I think like okay, if you're a marksman,
rifle or archery hunting.
Archery.
Okay,
nice.
Cool.
Yeah, because I think of it like this. Like okay, like if you're a marksman, like it's already like you already have like the cheat code, so to speak. I mean, sure, there's going to be some skill sets that are needed to execute on that, but at the same time, like it's just make that extra element of like like challenge.
Yeah,
I like that. So I'm trying my best to practice and get good at it. Next year, I want to go on a hunting trip.
What are you looking at, boars or deer? Or?
I'm looking at deer. My goal is that I want to go elk.
Okay.
And eventually, yeah, but that's a big endeavor. That's that's after you have some experience. I've never hunted before. So my brother-in-law, he lives in Bend, Oregon. I don't know if you guys are familiar, like up in Oregon. Like man, it's so beautiful, and also like the wildlife is amazing.
Yeah,
it's crazy. But the cool thing is, he has experience in archery. His mom was an instructor, and so he's into it too. So it's a cool way for us to bond. And so I've been I've been getting into that, and yeah, man. Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool, especially the archery part, because I've always wanted to go hunting myself too. And I saw this guy. He went big game hunting on Africa, but the dude went with a 50 cal. I'm like, dude, that's cheating.
Come on, man.
I mean, he was like, I don't know how far away he was, but just saw, oh, there's a giraffe. Boom.
Yeah.
And the recoil hit him in the face, and he was bleeding.
And that's warranted, man. That's called karma.
Yeah, but then you see this poor giraffe just fall, and it's falling forever. It's so freaking tall. His poor head bounced. I was like, there was no point. That's
I'm not a fan. I'm not in support of like game hunting. Like you killing like majestic, like all animals are majestic, obviously, but I'm in the notion of like, okay, if I'm gonna kill something, my family's gonna eat it.
I was gonna say the one redeeming quality was everything that they shot on his trips goes to the families of the people that put on the hunts, because they're low income in Africa. So they actually eat all the meat themselves. So I thought that was okay. I was like, I'm okay with that. Yeah. But I mean, use something smaller. I mean, just make it fair.
Yeah, I don't know. Something about those animals are just kind of.
Yeah, that's why I always stuck to fishing though, because I know how to clean fish properly myself. Like I can do everything from top to bottom. I've always loved it too. Go off the islands here, and go deep sea fishing overnight, and
that's cool, man.
Wonderful.
The cool thing about that is that you could always release them too if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure in some instances you can't.
Right.
But but a lot of times you can. So
yeah, if you're so inclined, yeah. And then I'm not gonna lie, I like to eat the fish. So
I mean that's cool, man.
I like that. That's incredible. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up for today.
One more question. We have one last question.
This is a good one right here from Archie. Thank you.
And it's real quick though. Yeah, my sister's also into sneakers. She just left for college.
Okay.
And we went down to the Citadel. For you guys don't know, Citadel's a huge outdoor mall down in the city of Commerce, and they had this really cool sneaker store. And I mean, they had just walls of like Dunks and Jordans and stuff. So find me the Panda Dunks. I was like, I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
All right.
But he wants to know what your favorite pair of Jordans are, and even if they're not Jordans, what's your favorite pair of shoes?
Yes, my favorite pair, and my wife hates them, but I love them. They're like my fourth child. I have 3 children. That's my fourth. Is the 14s.
Okay.
I don't know what the proper name is for them, but they're the white, black, and red. So, but those for me, you know what it is? I think it's the nostalgia. Like I remember those. Like I when I was growing up, like those were like the unicorn for me. Like at least I thought they were so cool, and I couldn't have them. I couldn't afford them when I was younger. But you know, obviously as I got older, I managed to get a couple. But those for me are my go-to.
Okay.
14s.
Are there any that are coming out that you're looking forward to?
Dude, honestly, there's so many coming out, and also now they're aside from Jordans, they have like Yeezys, man. I love Yeezys, and there's some Yeezys that are coming out, and I think they're like a light blue, maybe purpley kind of thing. Like I don't know, I like some of those fruity ones too sometimes. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff out there coming out. Not aside from the Jordans.
Nice.
Fantastic.
That's another avenue right there. Quality stuff. You gotta appreciate it, and you collect. And then I think collecting cigars is a little different, only because sooner or later you're gonna burn. Yeah. Hopefully you never light your shoes on fire. I'm telling you that. All right, people. We're gonna let you go for today, but I'm gonna have to have it back on soon because this is great, man.
Yeah, we'll love to, brother. Yeah, thanks for having me.
And then we'll have that list whenever you have it out. We'll make sure to get it out to these guys too, so you know where to get them, guys. Be sure to try them ASAP, all right? Because this is some good stuff. All right, any last words, guys?
Definitely going to get almost 2 hours of smoke time out of this. So we're at an hour now, barely halfway through. So nice long burn for this. And again, a very clean burn. My palate's still fresh right now, so you should be able to do back-to-back if you guys wanted to on these guys, no problem. Flavors have been fine and consistent throughout, so no like bitterness you might get every once in a while at all. And I'm still enjoying the hell out of it, guys, halfway through. So, construction, phenomenal. Flavors are fantastic. Yeah, can't say enough about it, guys.
All right. That's going to do it.
Yeah, brother.
All right, people. You all have a good one. We'll see you Wednesday, 2 o'clock, same time. That is for Alec is hopping on, right?
Yep.
Alec from Casa Cuevas. Guys, you all have a good one. We have another guest at the end of the week, too, as well. We have the Boutique Cigar Expo
yep.
coming on. And, we'll have more information for you guys very soon. You have a good one.
See you guys.